Hello and welcome to the Skiosis Firestarter. This is July 14th. I'm Rich Mogul as usual, and also as usual are Mike Rothman
Hi.
and Adrian Lane.
Good morning. Good morning.
So I think Adrian's the only one at his normal location today. I'm out in Boulder, Colorado, bar in a conference room. The guys over at Jump Cloud actually loaned me a desk I can use while I'm out here. Mike, you're over in New Jersey visiting some family.
I am. I am. So, overlooking the Atlantic, life could be a lot worse, I guess.
So you're on a beach, I'm in the mountains, and Adrian is searing in what 108
Yeah.
degree heat, 110. Oh, and there were monsoons yesterday, something along
Yeah,
those
the,
lines.
the, the windstorm blew down a tree. I had a rattlesnake crawl into the back patio. Yeah, it's been great. It's been
Yeah.
great.
The term that I was going to use was sweating his ass off, but, that's just me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just you, Mike. None of us ever would use words like that.
That's right. That's right.
It's too hot to sweat. You just dry instantly. Dehydrate, blow away like a leaf.
All right, we're going to dive right in since I may get kicked out of this conference room here. And we got two topics today. So the first one, I think both of these actually came from Adrian, and I read this too. I found it was amusing, but Adrian, apparently China considers iOS a security risk.
Well, I don't know if they consider it a security risk or not, but they're claiming that it is a risk to the Chinese government and security, that the iOS devices can't be trusted. So whether it's a political exercise or whether they really believe that, it's hard to tell.
Hey,
You
does,
know,
does Huawei sell phones? 'Cause, that would be an obvious, thing to, kind of do some protectionism on that front.
The well, and wasn't it like one specific thing they said the location data because iOS will keep track of like your favorite locations. However, you can turn that off if you want, and it's just I can't remember what it's used for actually. I think it's for like Siri searches and some other stuff. But my impression was like that was the one thing that was called out, and it's a user feature that you can disable. Seems pretty amusing. I'm trying to figure out what the angle is on this. I mean, clearly it's not really a security risk. So what is it that China cares about? Is this a negotiating tactic for something else, or I don't know. I mean, do you guys any ideas?
negotiating tactic.
But for what? What are they trying to get out of Apple?
Oh, I don't know that it's anything out of Apple. I just think it's pushback on the U.S. government for all of the. What was the recent break-in
Ah,
at? There was another break-in at one of the federal. Um, God, was it Congress? With some of their social systems, the email systems and stuff. They suspect the break-in was from China.
Yeah.
So this is
And
this is just flinging mud back and forth.
Yeah, and coming out of that, I know the White House made that statement a while back that they were concerned about what kind of just shutting down, cyber activity and playing by rules, specific rules of engagement, and that kind of thing. Which again, another veiled um, shot across the bow at China. So I think that scenario certainly does have some plausibility.
and there were additional indictments of Chinese nationals for hacking U.S. systems for espionage. So yeah, combine all those together, putting pressure on the U.S.'s shining star manufacturer. Okay, I guess yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, even though so I saw somebody mention on Twitter that it's kind of interesting because all the iPhones are actually made in China. So
Yeah, yeah,
details.
every single one of them.
Yeah.
All right, topic number two. So why don't you guys explain this one? But it's about breaking it or getting into the security industry.
Well, it came to mind because I've been getting a bunch of unsolicited resumes, and they're all over the place. There are people who want to become analysts, there are people who want to get into security, they're programmers, and but generally they want to be in and around security right now. And it's funny to see the different approaches or different interest levels that people have. And so just the kind of groundswell and interest that we're getting for people who want to join us or do interesting things with security, I thought was worthy of a discussion today.
Well, it is. So that means why don't you start the discussion?
All right then. Well, I mean, so if you want to get into it just because you want a job, probably the wrong reason. If you want to get into it because you're really interested in it, or you've got some passion about pen testing or secure code development or something, that's a totally different angle. And there's so many facets to security today that you can't know everything. And so pick one that you really like, get involved, read, follow blogs, and just do it. I mean, there's really no other way about it than jumping in with both feet, because there's lots and lots and lots of different areas, and there's new greenfield opportunities with every single passing month as new technologies come around. And if you're going to play by the numbers, it gets kind of hard because everybody wants to see existing skills and certifications, and those things are expensive, time consuming, and not particularly valuable to most young employees. So
Right, but that's how a lot of the hiring actually happens, right?
yes.
In order to qualify, you have to have certain things on your CV, and again, it's kind of a screwed up process, but it is what it is. I would differ a little bit from the standpoint of, if you're not passionate about this, it may not be the right profession for you. Not because I don't believe that's the case, but because as we continue to grow as an industry, as the demand continues to skyrocket for security skills, I don't think, kind of trying to find somebody who loves, kind of hacking and loves all the aspects, or at least some of the aspects of security, is overly practical. I mean, I think at some point there has to be some kind of career path for, kind of salarymen, right? We do have to have some aspect of, maybe it's SOC analysts, maybe it's sysadmins, maybe it's, again, operational type folks. But until we get to the point where you can actually train and get productivity out of folks that basically have a salaryman type of perspective. Again, I think that there's just so much demand out there, thinking you're going to get everybody that is rah rah rah, let's go beat the bad guys. I'm not sure how practical that is.
True, but on the other end of the spectrum, you're assuming that HR can actually screen candidates and find valuable candidates that actually understand security. A lot of the organizations don't even know what they're looking for when they're trying to interview these candidates and what the appropriate background is. So, do you take an ISC squared certification? Is that enough? Is it the right training? What's the background?
Well, I mean, you have to. So first of all, HR doesn't know what they're looking for, so they go to the default, which is, what are the certifications? Second is I think, going along with Mike, there are people who are into it like us because we just love this, and there's other people who just want a job, and it's interesting. And I would say actually a large percentage of existing people who do security in their organizations are the salarymen, are the people who are in many cases kind of there for the job, and they're not the IR forensic investigators, they're not the hackers, they're not the whatever. They're sysadmins. They come off the help desk. They come from other areas of operational IT. They kind of get a little bit more security specialization. They end up in the security role. A lot of the people I talk to when I go into meetings in all of these organizations, they don't have a deep, long, extensive security background. It's just something that kind of grows over time. And so my advice, typically, we with the podcast I used to do with Martin
Yeah,
and Zach.
the late podcast.
Yeah, the late network security podcast. We used to cover this one every couple of years, and we get a lot of questions from younger people coming in. And my advice usually is A, start on the operational side to get in IT, because it's almost impossible to get a starting job in security without some other level of experience. So you have to start someplace else. Then do your time. So you get the certification stuff, the SANS stuff, if you want to have a more technical role. If you want to build up to a CISSP, do that. But when a lot of people have been in IT for a while, they can knock that out pretty quickly and kind of game the system in terms of the years of experience piece. But the new people coming up can't. I mean, you just got to get at least 5 years doing something in IT that you can get on your resume and then mark that off as security at some point. And then that's the one that you eventually have, and that kind of gets you through the HR departments. But you got to wheedle your way through your organizations and look for those roles, talk to those guys on the team until it plops in on you. And look, I see people all the time, like in our cloud security classes, a lot of people are coming in there because they want to work in cloud security. They have no cloud experience and minimal security experience, but they take the class, put it on the resume, and that's going to at least get them in the door. Doesn't mean they're qualified for the job, doesn't mean they're good, doesn't mean they have a passion, but at least that's not necessarily the question that was asked today.
Well, right, and I think a lot of it is to go into it, if you're a hiring manager or organization, with the general acceptance that you're not going to find fully finished products, right? You're not going to find folks that are going to come in, be productive on day one, know exactly what to do, know exactly how they should do it. Again, maybe you get lucky, but again, you can't plan on that. So I think that having a structured training and development kind of, I don't want to call it a curriculum, right? But at least a staff development concept and plan is actually critical because, and again, we can't stamp out these folks fast enough, right? Even if they come out of other areas of IT, even if you have a fully built out intern program where you're pulling folks out of different areas and basically stealing them from other IT groups within the organization. All that stuff notwithstanding, there still aren't going to be enough people. So, and again, I mean, I think that we do have to go into it with the assumption that you're going to have to develop a lot of this talent, that you're looking for basically raw material, unformed clay that have the right passions, have the right interests, have the basis of the skill sets, and then you're going to have to invest in those folks and understand that a percentage of them, and it's probably not an insignificant percentage of them, are going to take your training and then go parlay that into a high-priced consulting job for a couple of years. And then what we've seen, at least what I've seen, being in this, 15, 20 years, is that you see that cycle where folks kind of go, they learn, they go off and kind of sow their royal oats, to use a coming to America euphemism, and then they'll come back, right? We've started to see a lot of those folks that have done the consulting thing for 4 or 5 years, gotten there 500, 600,000 frequent flyer miles, and basically said, I prefer my family, I prefer my lifestyle, I prefer, not to have a heart attack when I'm 35, and then they, kind of settle back into, more of a traditional enterprise type of security role, and that's fine, right? But you have to go into it understanding that you have to develop these folks, knowing that a percentage of them are going to go do something else for a period of time.
Yeah, I've got, for any hiring managers out there who are listening to this, I got two pieces of advice. First, don't let your HR department or your recruiters do all of your screening for you. They're going to be weeding out a lot of the good candidates. I had the same experience with other employers, and I had to basically not allow them to front that effort because a lot of the candidates that I actually wanted to interview were dropping off the interview cycle. The other thing is that expect that you're going to be hiring people with less talent, so their salaries might be a little lower, but you're going to have to reinvest that money back into training, and train them specifically in the areas that you want them trained.
The other thing that I'll mention too is make sure you are prepared to go to HR and fight the salary bands, because what you're going to do in an environment where it's so resource constrained relative to skills, I've heard of a lot of people that have had trouble, freeing up enough money to get even entry level folks, and certainly a couple folks with a couple of years experience, they kind of break the salary bands that most corporate IT environments have in place in order to, reflect a sysadmin or, kind of an application developer or, some of these other, kinds of positions. So again, go into it understanding that there has to be some flexibility and some adjustment, or else it's going to, end badly, because you're going to finally find that decent candidate. They're going to want a certain amount of money, and you're going to go, yeah, there's just no way I can pay that. And then they say, thank you very much. There are 3 other companies right down the street that will. So that's kind of the decision that you have to make.
Yeah, and look, this is true of any industry that's got a high growth. So we have, a limited, more demand than supply. So basic economic supplies there. By the same token, I mean, a lot of the hiring roles I've had in different positions over the years, even if somebody comes out with all the certifications, even if somebody comes out of the right school, I mean, they're not ready to do the job. And even if they've done the job really well someplace else, it just means, well, it'll take less training to get them to be able to do that same job here because of all the organizational differences. So there's always going to kind of that upswing of in that amount of time you need to invest in people. And to be honest, lots of times the resume doesn't even necessarily reflect the overall quality of that particular candidate. And I have seen in our industry a problem where HR departments think any security role you have to have the CISSP. That's got to be it. And I'm slowly coming away from knocking that as badly as I have, because we have some friends more deeply involved with that certification and kind of know what they're trying to do or how to make it better. But by the same token, entry level people don't have CISSP, and you're not paying enough for somebody who would be a truly qualified CISSP. But that's all HR knows about, and so that's what they put on the requirement list. And that's something that's got to be fought as well. Allow somebody to come in with a lower level thing. One of the hands-on sans things that you can knock off in a week class or something along those lines.
Yeah, somebody who's dangerous enough to, not know what the hell they're doing, right? And then just let them figure it out. because that's pretty much how we all learned, right? And that's kind of, at least from where I sit, in an environment this dynamic, I don't know that there's a different way to do it.
I mean, heck, as soon as we get off this call, I have to go fix a server I broke. So, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, you're going to screw things up anyway. Well, especially if it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I've learned
all
the
right.
10,000 ways to not do it.
I swore I upgraded those licenses from the eval version. Yeah, that's okay. I had fun supporting Adrian this weekend as well. It's just, but maybe we're just feeding the stereotype of analyst that can't touch technology. All right, guys. So, anything else, or should we call it quits for this week?
No, I think it's good. I mean, again, I mean, I think that when you think about being any kind of senior security professional, recruiting, building your team, kind of managing them, investing in the talent, and ensuring that they are continue to be challenged, or else they'll find something else, is a key aspect of the role. And again, when we were kind of coming up through the technical track, and you said, "Oh God, I can't wait to be a manager one day," and then you're a manager and you're like, "God, I hate this." But the fact of the matter is that's what the job is, right? And that's what the job is. And I think that, the sooner you kind of accept that and understand that your role isn't to play around with technology anymore, unless you want to do it on your weekends and late at night. I mean, that's what it is. So accept it, understand it, because again, your path and your critical success factor is directly related to how well you can build your team and how well you can develop the raw talent that the only raw talent that you can get, because the skill shortage and the staff gap and the staff skills gap is not going to get any better anytime soon.
Yep. All right, so with that, we'll close this one out. I wish I could show you the view from this office. It's actually pretty darn beautiful, but yeah, I'm in the conference room, so no luck. So thanks everybody for joining us, and you probably noticed we're a little bit, scattershot with our schedules and stuff. It's summer. We're all on vacation or working vacations and traveling around and doing all the things that we do. In a couple of weeks, we also have Black Hat and DEF CON coming up, so we might do a little prep show for that one. Anyway, as always, thanks for joining us, and we will see you probably next week. Yeah, bye.